Alright, so welcome ladies and gentlemen to the Steel Colosseum, an event by the Steel Guard, a bit of a anniversary event you could call it. Celebrating their, is it 1 year, Helfyre? Who is with me, by the way? Helfyre is with me here.
Right, it's 1 year since the clan formed.
A bit of a celebration here today as we take on quite an unusual event in the form of a almost battle royale-esque format here. We're going to start off with a bit of a free-for-all deathmatch. Then we're going to move on to a free-for-all King of the Hill and end it off with more or less a battle royale. So a lot of things in store here.
We can move close to filling this lobby, at which point we'll be starting in match time.
Yeah, due to the very different event, we don't have any visuals prepared, or I don't, rather. My bad. But yeah, we are in the lobby. It is slowly filling up, and we are about to start off. We will be updating you on how this goes, so that you're not lost and confused. And so with us here in the lobby, we have quite a few teams. We have 4 different teams with us, all consisting of 1 ship each, is it not?
That's correct.
So we're just going to pull up the logos here real quick. We've got... I'm going to attempt pronunciation. Parahestices. Parahestiaistes. That's one of them. We've got the XEDs, the Imperial Flak Crew, and Los Soñaderos with us. And for our first match, we are going to be playing on Brawl at Kinforth, which is basically Kinforth, to my understanding, so... Nothing new and scary there. And so if you're more interested in how the rules are going to work, we're going to go over them a fair bit, but there's going to be a lot of action that we're going to be needing to cover. But in the Discord for the Steel Colosseum event, you will find a link to all the rules, and as well with a bracket that's going to be updating and some other resources that will help you follow the event. Match timer is currently at 3 minutes and 30 seconds, so we've got 3 minutes until the ships lock. Currently looking at a Junker, Pyramidian, a Crusader, and a Stormbreaker, and this is a really interesting setup, right? Because you need a way. You need to have a ship that can fend off multiple assailants, but also you need kill power. Otherwise, you're gonna get your kills stolen. It's gonna be a very harsh world out there. So you do need the kill power, and looking at this junker here, we see a lot of banshees, and that's a lot of power for stealing kills and securing your own kills.
And mixture of evasion or tankiness and firepower is definitely critical here.
Yeah, and it seems like the most teams have taken that to heart. We see either banshees or on all other ships, we see flax. We see this Stormbreaker here that has borrowed 2 flax, so that's an insane kill power from the Stormbreaker so far.
Then Stormbreaker is an interesting pick here. It's very good at evading, it's very good at killing things. And potentially it could be a ship that we see in a lot of these games.
Yeah, because it's going to need a lot of kill power, and say like a Pyramidion, for example, is something that I think most people think of when they think big brawly ship that can handle a lot in a brawl. But however, you're going to have to keep a lookout for 4 different sides of engagement here, and Pyramidions have one weakness in that their rear is completely undefended.
Yeah,
so that's a bit of a risky pick.
I think I agree with you. It also kind of shares a weakness with the Crusader in that it does have more of its armor exposed.
Definitely.
And so with 3 ships potentially shooting at you, it might not quite cut it, but we'll see. What I am surprised to see is the Crusader pick, because that is one ship that will struggle even more than the Pyramidion. It's a ship that will be extremely strong in 1v1s and in a lot of 2v2 matchups, but when there are 3 enemies and no ally to protect them, will be a very tough matchup.
Yeah, and definitely I think most of the ships we've seen in SCS and the like is usually the kind of you usually see them playing on the strength of that too. You see a big ship that mostly needs an escort to defend themselves from the fast ships, but now you have to choose one. Either you go for the quick and nimble ships, or you go for the big glass cannons. However, I think people here are going to have to find somewhere in between where they can land. The 1 minute has been added, and that's going to be it before we head into the match. 40 seconds now. And for convenience, the ships are going to have their team names on their ships as to help us follow the action a bit better. Ships are now locked, and we're going to start heading into the game. There we go. A bit of mishaps with the starting of the match, with the captains having to hit the big yellow check mark instead of the normal small white one.
False start was not required there. Managed to avoid it. So this will be a 20-minute match. We'll be looking for the ship that can kill the most enemy ships. If there's a tiebreaker, then that will go down to whoever gets the first kill amongst the tied ships.
Yeah, so looking over here, we've got the Parasites, the red team, piloted by Mosin, I believe. It is a junker, got a whole lot of Banshees on there. 1, 2, and 3 of them, along with a carronade and a Gatling. Then we've got the Los Soñadores sporting a Stormbreaker, piloted by Steam Brains here. It's got double flax and a laser, along with a Watcher.
Ship number 3 is the Zeds, piloted by Dementio. It's a Pyramidion with laser Artemis front and Gatling flak side. And ship number 4, the Imperial Flak Crew, a Crusader piloted by Triggerslip, carrying a Watcher, a flak and a Gatling on the right side, and on the left hand side, a Minotaur, flak and Artemis.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see almost 2 1v1s here, right? We see the purple and yellow team clashing a bit here in the southeastern corner, with the Los Soñadores and Parasites moving in slowly.
It seems like they're losing each other now. We're seeing something happening in the other corner of the map. And this is a more committed engagement.
Yeah, this here is a full-on brawl at this point, and possibly the best situation the Pyramidion can hope to get. However, it's not going too well for them now, but a 1v1 versus the Imperial Flak Crew.
The Archer goes out, disabling the side engine flak and their armor. However, they don't follow up on the armor break here.
Now the other 2 teams still slowly moving across the map here. They're going to stumble across this engagement just as the the yellow team goes down, scoring 1 team for the Imperial Flak Crew.
Yep, so at a surprising result, we see the Crusader lead in the 1v1.
Yeah, I thought for sure the Pyramidion had a good spot there.
It did look like they have the good engagement to start off with, and maybe they can come back and redeem themselves.
Yeah, now Los Soñadores is in a real pickle here, being in between the 2 other ships here.
But they are lasering the Imperial Flak Crew, not really hitting the hull of the Crusader. You only see a little half-hearted attempt here.
Yeah, and the Zeds might be back with a vengeance here. They're kind of looking at the Imperial Flak Crew here. They might want payback for what they did to them.
Indeed, and they've already been weakened by the Los Soñadores. The Crusader's not looking in the best spot here, but it's managing to avoid taking sustained damage. Meanwhile, we see the Junker performing an interesting maneuver.
Now, Imperial Flak Crew in a real pickle here, as both the Junker and the Pyramidion are engaging on them. But it seems like the Junker is going to snatch up the kill. Yeah, the Banshee is really working there with the continuous explosive damage. Now the Soñador is making a move on the Junker, the Zeds moving in. And the Zeds may be recognizing that the Los Soñadores did have the upper hand on the Junker, trying to weaken both ships before moving in.
Although they did break their hull armor, and could have been a kill if they'd managed to ram the Los Soñadores once more. However, they escape with 75% of their armor and fly into the Crusader. Again, they're splitting up into 2 1v1s. Junker's assaulting the Pyramidion. Pyramidion manages to disable the Gatling on the Junker. we're seeing the Crusader dominate and
Oh,
down goes the Stormbreaker.
that went really quickly. And now the Junker being in the really undesirable spot of being in the middle of everything.
We saw some nice watches go out on the Crusader from Emperor's Comeback there. And again, nice Optimus and nice watching.
And
It's
Junker
not in a
doing a
good
nice
spot.
move here, putting the Imperial Flak crew in the middle, making sure that they get the Pyramidians' attention.
However, it looks like this will go to the... Oh, and the Junker manages to steal the point. Really nice Banshees.
Yeah, and that puts them just behind the purple team here, or the Imperial Flak crew. Because I do believe that first kills do matter.
Indeed, that's true.
Oh, the Stead's in a really bad spot here, and they go down, being the Blues' first kill here. Imperial Flak crew just spawned back behind the Junker here.
It looks like they can get away without damaging their engine. However, the escape route there's a Crusader.
Yeah, now it seems like we might get a real like 4 or 1v1 brawl here with the XCDs coming in as well. Now we've got all 4 ships here in just a big pile.
Yeah, well,
And
for a time, it
yep.
looked like it was all 3 ships just crashing the Stormbreaker, and it still looks like that's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to see which ship can get the kill first. And again, points out to the Junker.
yeah. It seems like these Banshees are really working out, both in the killing department and in the kill stealing department.
We see a triple Banshee side, very powerful. 9 units are always shooting it.
I think mostly all ships just agreed that they don't want a really quick and nimble Hawatcha around the battlefield, because that's just another headache to have while trying to keep your position safe.
Indeed, and it also seemed like an easy kill, but the Crusader was rather slow to get into the fight. Oof, wasted an opportunity on that Hawatcha. Not a good enough angle on this breaker to break its engine.
And a really interesting fight here with everyone trying to avoid... Everyone's avoiding trying to be in the middle because of the implied dangers.
But the Zeds are seeing the focus. They're close to armor break, they've lost an engine, they break. Flux and Banshees go out this time.
Another one for Los Soñadores there.
Indeed, they steal it with the double flag. Double flag is perhaps the winner here between the triple Banshee and the double flagship.
Yeah, gives them a bit more range than the Banshees as well with the flax.
And the Stormbreaker was broken, but no damage goes out on the HP.
Oh, and the devastating Banshees on the Imperial Flak crew. 14 stacks on the hull armor.
Beautiful watcher goes out onto the Junker. This is the main engine Banshee Gatling.
Oh!
Main engine disabled again. That was exquisite play.
Now the XCD's on the way in, but it's gonna take them a while.
And we see the Crusader being lasered now. And they can't take this punishment.
Oh, the flags come out! Oh!
And they managed to survive for a time. Now, even if the Minosaur could take off the Stormbreaker, Reds are going in, shooting the Crusader.
Yeah, they're looking at the Imperial Flak crew, but so is Los Soñadores.
But points go to the
Junker cheekily takes it again. Just shows what a presence they have with those 3 Banshees just staying in the middle, being quite safe because they are quite tanky, and making sure to have those Banshees ready whenever someone gets a hull break on someone.
Yes, I think the real value to this ship here is that with 3 Banshees, they're able to just focus on that. If there's one ship that's going to break, they can use those. But also, if they're not in a position to steal a kill, they can use their own other side and pressure a kill themselves. But they've got the flexibility there. I don't think the Stormbreaker quite has the same flexibility. One laser is very difficult, or it makes it very difficult to break the armor of the ship. With just one laser and 2 bullets. But they're doing it now. Sets are broken, backs go out, and they take the kill.
So 4-3-2-0 is currently the score. And currently looking very good for the Parasites, or the Junkers. With a strat of just existing in the middle with all their Banshees. And being quite aggressive as well, actually. However, that Archer is a very hard opponent for them to walk into.
You've seen it time after time. Getting good disables on the Lycans.
And they take it home with another Banshee kill on the Crusader. And so red team takes this home with Los Venedores coming in second with 3 points. Then we've got the Imperial Flak Crew in third, and the Seds unfortunately not scoring a single point. However, I think the Pyramidion was a very difficult ship to bring into this scenario.
It is exactly as predicted at the start. They had a really tough time.
Yeah, but Crusader did a whole lot better than I thought it would do. And that might have been to the excellent watches we saw out of that ship. Very hard to engage into, and a very big risk to engage into, especially when there's other ships looking at you. And it seems like most matches are finishing up here.
Yep, we're just waiting for the match number 2 to conclude.
Yeah, but so interesting. I think Watchers in this scenario, as well as everything else you do really, but Watchers in a sense, if someone engages on you and you manage a good Watcher, that's going to invite the other two teams to come rushing in as well, because you've got one ship that can't do anything and one ship that's probably preoccupied with trying to deal with the ship they just watched.
Precisely, we saw that happen. And sometimes it was the assailant losing out, and sometimes it was the ship at the Watcher, the Crusader, that was losing out.
Yeah, that's probably the strength of having two of them, isn't it? Making sure that you're ready to watch anyone who tries to come in and take advantage of the situation you created for yourself.
And it looks like we see the more evasive ships being more successful here. So we'll see if we'll see more of those in the next round.
Yeah, but also the Junker doing surprisingly well for itself.
I think Junker is a special ship because it's not considered evasive, but if it's in a position where it's not being double focused for too long with heavy guns, then it's usually good to go. And actually, we've not seen very many heavy guns, as you commented there. We only saw really the data. I think it was actually a fairly safe game for them.
Yeah, and I mean, I just looked, and they did bring the kerosene along with the drift sail, making them quite fast, even though people usually think of the Junker as slow. Right, so moving up here, we're going to be on something called Chaos King, which is basically water hazard, a bit more orange than you remember it possibly, and it's going to be Crazy King. So more or less actually just a miniature Crazy King, but with a whole lot more teams than we're used to.
Indeed, and there are some other things to note too. So the points capture a lot faster in this particular game mode, since there are 4 different teams normally on the point. We need smaller windows for the points to actually be captured. And secondly, the maximum score will be 420, as opposed to the standard 450 or 500. You see.
Yeah, so a bit faster paced and a bit smaller in scale, but not really as we've got. It's just more split up.
Yes, and I feel that on Crazy King we're actually going to see ships like Janka that need to avoid heavy guns actually less dominant, and ships like Stormbreaker that don't have as much presence on the point. I think that these ships might be a bit weaker in this game mode, so it will be interesting to see what succeeds here.
Yeah, and you're also going to have to be able to move between the points. Means you're probably... Are you going to go for the drift sail and maybe sacrifice your vertical? That's a big risk, because the vertical can be something very big in avoiding those said big guns.
I suspect for sure we'll be seeing some galleons here.
Do you expect a galleon? I would love to see a galleon, but I do not expect it.
I also suspect we'll see some junkers, but I don't think they will be as successful.
Because now it's a lot more... It's a bit more about presence, isn't it? A presence and managing to kill off your enemies so that you might actually get some sweet, sweet taste of that point.
Okay,
Now, match 2 has concluded, so we should be seeing the people moving in here. And so we're going to have Parasiaceus once again, along with Moth, Thor's Groupies, and Union of Engineers. And so currently we're seeing a goldfish, which is usually a very single targeted ship. So it's going to be a bit interesting to see how that would perform in a 1v1v1v1 scenario.
It's not some decent finishing power. And it's both tanky and in some senses evasive. Although probably not evasive in the sense that you would like here. Strong verticals are power. Its top speed is not going to be so useful most of the time. But maybe we'll see the Banshees getting kills, maybe we'll see it ramming into ships. It's definitely a strong choice against the other ships that we see, Stormbreaker, Squid and Magnate. We've seen Goldfishes with heavy carronades extremely successful against all three of these ships. So it seems like it's the dominant pick here.
Yeah, and also important to keep in mind about this game mode is that getting a kill is actually going to give you 13 points. So while the point is going to be very important, of course, those 13 points add up. Now 2:30 to go. So we're seeing a Carafish so far, a Breaker, Gatling Artemis Flak, and a Watcher. Pretty standard kill Squid and a Magnate. Bring a whole host of weaponry, most notable being two Mercury field guns along with a Flak. What do you think about that one, Hellfire?
Definitely an interesting choice given the fact that you want to be able to be on the point and be shooting. And I'm surprised we see a change go out there. So I don't think there's any need to comment further on that. But yes, you
but we do see our galleon
dedicated to it. Yeah, surprising, but impressive.
Now, if they manage to pull that off, I mean, a galleon can keep up with these other ships. However, it's got very sad acceleration, but its max speed is actually pretty impressive.
I think if it can avoid being watch disabled, which will mainly come from the Stormbreaker.
1:30 on the clock right now, 1 minute until lock. It seems like they might be keeping that galleon.
About 30 seconds remaining. The reminder that if there is a change in this next 30 seconds, we'll be seeing an extra minute to add it to the time. The ships are locked.
"15 seconds left until the match starts. The pilots have been asked to ready up. We're seeing one yellow check mark so far, one white check mark. Those won't do here, people.
Quite surprising to see after the fact that we've already played around. I presume that the other lobby may have full started.
And so we have 3 check marks. And there's the 4th one. Here we go. We're headed into Chaos King. We had a quick question there if the respawns are available on this mode, and yes, they are.
That's correct. But there is no timer for this mode, so it could be stalled out a lot. We see teams fighting over the point and not capturing them.
Yeah, point A is already active. We see 3 teams having a bit of an advantage as the red team is spawned way north of the first point.
Hopefully for them they can get in, and actually the yellow team has captured the point.
Yeah, so the red team moving in here, they're bringing a Carrowfish with double Banshees. Along with a flame on that, if I remember correctly. They're going to be in here soon and maybe get a good pop. Point currently yellow.
And yellow is there.
Yellow goes away immediately. Now, due to limitations, up in the right corner, you're going to be seeing red and blue. However, the 2 other teams are also getting points, I assure you. If we bring up the map, we don't see their points either.
We did see the purple team capture the point. The red team threw the purple team off, and the galleon, the blue team, captured it in turn.
Yeah, now the galleon is kind of parked up on there. And they seem quite brawly there. They've got Gatling, they've got Carronade, they've got Hawacha.
Looks like they're having a pretty good time. Just watching the red and purple team fight below. And not
Those groupies making a move for the point here, sneaking up on the galleon, being a bit wary, of course. Purple team going down to the fish. Impressive display by the fish. Now those groupies bringing a Hawacha on the right side, along with Gatling, Artemis and Flak.
You'd think that the goldfish will ignore the storm.
And here we see the points currently. Blue team got a massive lead due to the time they held that point so far with 70 points.
They're almost dropping below the bounds of the point, but they're still holding on to it for now. We see the galleon broken. Squid is engaging on with the Stormbreaker.
Yeah, and there we see kind of the power. However, it seems like the point stretches quite far down here, with the galleon being down there and still holding on to the point.
This is a rather interesting phenomenon, because we just saw the squid.
And there we go, it's been decapped.
We did see the squid lose the point at a much higher altitude. It's currently being contested between the squid and the Stormbreaker. Looks like the squid's
and yellow team currently holding it. And it is almost time to switch over to point B, and we see most of the teams here beelining towards it.
The question is, can it be contested? And it is contested by the purple team, I think.
Very dangerous position for that, especially with a Carrowfish being around. You don't want to be too close to that point.
Purple team capture the point. I think the other team's not realizing that they need to be lower to capture. It's very important that you have your map knowledge here. Galleon's found its way down, and so have the other ships. Stormbreaker again is being chased off the point by the Carronade fish. Not got a very strong presence here. Now if the squid can survive here and evade the arcs long enough of the galleon, they can accrue a lot of points. Nasty Watcher going into them.
And they barely managed to survive, however they're still holding on to that point.
Which is really the key thing here. And they can use this pillar and fly around it. Use it to avoid arcs, but actually they're flying below the galleon arcs, go backwards into them. And here we're going to see that squid in a few moments, if that Watcher can connect.
Just about, but not really, and it's not even enough to force them off the point. They're still holding on to it. And they're not going to let go, so they've tried to force them off. But they're just not getting it, and the purple team is racking up points here, 104, 105.
Indeed, they're at 110 points now. It's very difficult to chase that squid here in a galleon.
Yeah, especially with the terrain being what it is.
And the goldfish also perhaps doesn't want to chase it because it doesn't want to fly into the galleon arc.
Yeah, now blue team seems to be a bit frustrated here, calling out the purple team is in fact controlling the point. They've been sitting on it for a while, and it doesn't seem like the other teams have really been going for purple. But now they are forcing them off of the point here, it seems. But it seems like on the other side of this cliff, they're still holding onto it. And they're just racking up the points.
Captain Yang has his map knowledge, perhaps. He knows the balance. He's not letting go of this point. Well, let's see if they can pull up something similar on C point. Looks like Moth is already leaving for C point, trying to prevent that. We'll see how that goes shortly.
Yeah, because being the first on the point is really powerful, as we saw here with the squid just dancing around the point. Now they let go of the point. We'll see if anyone's going to fight for the scraps. It doesn't seem so.
Now, if we move over to C point, we do see that it's, well, it looks like Galleon's about to capture it. But we do see that it's between 4 pillars, and if the point is small enough, then it could be hard for the squid to do what it was doing. Actually,
Yeah, it depends on whether or not they can dance around these pillars.
We're gonna see the Galleon take the brunt of the focus here. Probably.
Yeah, because they're the ones currently holding the point now. Squid was lucky last point that no one really realized that it was them. We saw yellow and red team brawling it out amongst themselves off to the side of the point.
Indeed, it is difficult to tell if it was them not realizing. It was announced in chat that you could check the scoreboard. We still see blue point. Blue team holding the point here.
Yeah, but they're not gonna last much longer, and they're still holding it, but they're gonna go down very shortly here.
They don't quite manage to catch up to purple, who secured the kill on the Galleon and secure 13 points for themselves. Blue team still holding the point somehow.
Yeah, that is a really weird phenomenon.
Yes, that is quite a strange thing. I think because the other teams are contesting it.
It might be so that you can only actually capture the point while being alone on it. Yeah, this is really weird what's going on right now, but we have blue team coming in again. And so there might be some kind of issue with our map here.
Indeed, it seems that as long as the point is contested, it will not be captured, even if the team that has it captured is no longer contesting it. But because the other teams were contesting the point, the blue team are reaping the benefits. They're taking all these points away.
So they're gonna have to like agree and actually move off the point together. Now we see the red team capturing the point. And as such, the other teams have really been playing into the blue team's hands here. As such, we see them with quite a big lead here. Purple, of course, holding the other point for quite some time with 187. Blue team having a lead of 233. Now red team getting some of those points
For themselves, and it was much needed. It puts them ahead of the yellow team, but they're only going to be at 70 points. And we're seeing the ships fly towards point D.
Yeah, now control point D is active. It's being contested so far by everyone. Blue team, of course, choosing not to move away from that point. They want everyone else to move away.
Indeed, and we see the other ships fighting amongst themselves. It'll be interesting to see if they decide to prioritize the blue ship. Even though
yeah, because they only need one minor slip. If they just slip out of the point range, they're giving it to the blue team. And blue team has said that it's either going to be their point or no one's point at all.
Yes, and if you want to give it to anyone, you definitely don't want to give it to the blue team. That would be a big mistake. Pause Group P tries to go up to engage them. but they're not really ready with their archer, and they get disabled themselves completely. However, the galleon tries to stay focused on the Stormbreaker. Goldfish manages to rise to engage it, with the squid ignoring the galleon and shooting the goldfish quite curiously.
It's very hard here to try and choose your targets. However, blue team is a full health galleon, and for these ships that's quite hard to bring down on your own and leaves you exposed to the other ships.
It's really interesting disable on the Watcher and side engine and the Spores groupies. And the balloon pop. And the hull break. It's not a very happy storm. It's interesting to see the pilot's understanding of the game mode grow throughout the game. And they're currently holding this point in complete stalemate.
Now, the galleon's slowly being forced off here. They can take punishment, but there's a limit to what they can take.
They're still contesting and not taking any HP. They have just
no, but they can keep that balloon up.
And they're dropping out of arc. Looks like the yellow team's trying to snap this away. But this is a very, very large region that point D covers.
Yeah, Moth is already headed towards A again. Probably the best call they could have made here. Now red team takes the points, just like last time here actually. And those scraps, while they look insignificant, they could add up over the course of a game.
Especially if we see, as we just saw then, that teams are not managing to capture the points. Because
right now no one's gained any points except for the red team, who's gained around 20 to 30 points here. Now red and yellow are going to be late to the party, and that means danger, because if the Moth can force the Union of Engineers off the point, it's not going to look very good for them. But here we see them moving in as well.
Force groupie making an aggressive maneuver. Gatling's going out on the galleon, it's being popped. Probably see the fish swap for the squid here, and she's also going out on the galleon. It's unclear what the intent of the pilots are. Red team are currently not contesting. I think only the purple and the blue team are.
Yeah, what we've seen red team do mostly, I think, is use their balloon pressure to try and force the Moth off, because they know that they are the biggest threat right now.
Indeed, but the problem with the carronade for that is that you have to follow your opponent down to some extent at least. So it only has a really nasty Watcher on the Stormbreaker, which could be killed by any of the ships trivially here.
Yeah, no engines, no balloon, there's no mobility on that ship as of right now. That's really the only thing the Stormbreaker has.
Takes a run, is balloon broken, has every component on fire, -1. I can't imagine the crew are too happy on this galleon here. But they're surviving.
A lot of flame stacks. And there comes even more with the Banshees coming in.
M-Spray manages to go out on the hull just in time, so it's only got 2 5 stack.
It seems like most of those Banshees ended up on the on one of the guns there, which ended up with 13 stacks and exploded promptly.
Indeed, and we see some nice engineering on the galleon because an extinguisher also went out on the hull. The engineers running around the ship there. Meanwhile, blue team are contesting the point against purple team, I think.
Yeah, and they might get the scraps this time around.
Oh, actually, points go out to Force groupies. And if there's any team that would get the scraps easily, it would be the Stormbreaker with Dressail, I think.
Yeah, because I mean that's the issue for the galleon, right? They can't be fighting over scraps because then they'll be late to the party for the next point.
Yes, they do have good top speed, but that's not really enough for them. keeping in mind that drift slow can almost double your top speed.
And now we see the teams racing for point B here. And the teams are starting to realize that they're having some troubles forcing the other people off the point, and they might have needed... Oh! Might have needed some more kill power, I was about to say, when the galleon just sits on the squid. But the red team claims the point. And that's a real issue for the galleon. How are they going to force a fish off of the point when they can dance around the mountain?
Yeah, I think there's one ship that it's going to be really hard to take off the point. It's going to be the goldfish. They're being popped here. That's going to be really annoying for the goldfish. I'm surprised we didn't see the galleon being popped by the
And they're stuck against the mountain.
But all they need to do is survive.
Yeah, the points are ticking up for the red team. And as long as they can make sure that the other teams are fighting for the point, which is happening right now with the squid coming in as well, they don't even need to risk too much. They just need to make sure that they're near if everyone else goes off. And red team slowly becoming the new threat of the match here with 180 points and counting.
We just see them surpass the purple team, so they're the second team by a score. Very impressive, and it looks like they're going to score another 70 points here, and they'll supersede the blue team if they can stay on this point.
And I don't really see anyone forcing the fish off of it right now, and with the galleon refusing to move, it's going to be very hard to create a scenario where the point isn't contested. And it seems like fish might already be heading towards the next point.
An interesting choice, because it does give the blue team, which is the team they're contesting, a lot of extra points.
Yeah, this might be almost another extra 50 points.
Yes, and don't forget, for every one of those points it gives to the blue team, that's a point that the red team can now take for itself.
It seems like blue team is also going to leave the point behind right now. They don't want the scraps. And they're going to move in for the fight at sea.
Indeed. We see the Paul's groupies in a very bizarre position here. But they're flying into the point now.
Yeah, but there's a big danger if they can get the Union of Engineers off before the moth arrives. Because after that, that galleon is going to be sitting on the point. But they might just... No, they just missed the ram!
Is it a flame kill? No, not quite. Paul's group is contesting, so even when the squid dies, it's not a question of if it will die with them.
Yeah.
When the squid dies, point will still be contested.
It was just a bit too slow of a kill. If they could have managed that ram when the hull went out the first time, they could have been sitting on the point right now, happy and fed.
Or if they switched to their banshees instead of the flamethrower, perhaps they could have clutched to kill.
Galleon going for the ram, but instead of flying off the point and off to the side here.
Stormbreaker being popped, losing altitude, dropping out of the Carronade arcs for now. Flamer going out on the Stormbreaker, but not really hitting. Stormbreaker being directly below the fish, in a fair amount of safety.
Yeah, the Union of Engineers slowly making their way over again.
Meanwhile, Galleon's flying in.
Yeah, they might be going for another one of those rams.
Managed to get her without being shot, which is very high value, and as I say that, Appalachia goes out on them, only disabling one Appalachia.
Only one gun though, so they still have a lot of firepower.
Oh, but they're taking Gatling. Fish is actually rescuing the Galleon, which is an interesting choice, because they could wait for the kill and then swap to the Galleon, and they're taking the Stormbreaker off the point.
Yeah, and it could be argued that the fish would have a better time versus the Thor's groupies than... Well, maybe they think they could really beat the moth in a 1v1.
That may be true, but they're not going to kill it as quickly.
Oh, but
as
blue team takes the points!
Indeed, and that was a very careless move there.
However, it's a question of how low this point goes. Because if they can force them below it, they could rise up before the moth does. But we're looking at 50 seconds left, and it's not a lot of points. And the Union of Engineers doing an interesting move. They've been out of the battle the entire time and just sitting on D. Which might pay off if no one else goes for it. However, we'll see if the moth and the fish here sabotage enough for each other not to make it over there in time.
That was a very interesting thing in the last fight there. Yellow team were like, hey red team, here's a present, we'll kill the galleon for you, then you can fight us, we know you do well against us. And instead of accepting this gift, they just say, no, we're just gonna kill you, get this point away to our enemy.
Yeah, we see almost everyone contesting the point. Those group is staying a bit out of it.
It didn't really work out for Union of Engineers, they just get the balloon pop.
Yeah, it's a very high risk move, isn't it? Just staying on the next point.
And this is the point where only the red team managed to get the scraps at the end. We'll see if anyone can capture it, although I am doubtful.
Thor's group is getting just mashed out of that point. Who claimed the points?
It's still being contested.
It was the red team that claimed the kill points. Yeah.
So, blue team in first, red team in second, purple team in third with 200 points, yellow team in fourth place with 73 points.
So very slow right now with the moth trying to rise and the fish just flaming the balloon. And you get the feeling that this could be repeated forever. Now the fish being pushed off here, if the moth can manage to push off the Union of Engineers as well. Now, however, the Thor's group is here as well. Moth needs to be careful not to fall off too far.
That's one side engine disabled on the squid, but only one in the clip of 4 after shots. You see focus go out on the squid. And again the point being left by the red team. Just interesting. The blue team capture it.
Oh, and that's 1 minute of points. That might almost be enough. So now they need to really question if they shouldn't just try and get the jackpot here. But they are taking a lot of pressure from the Thor's groupies.
Indeed, this will be enough for the blue team if they capture this and score 1 kill or 1 capture. And it was not, again, it doesn't seem like the strongest choice by the red team. However, there is an incentive for the red team to let the blue team win here, because if the match ends with the blue team winning, and it ends quickly, the red team will finish second and they'll have a chance in the grand finals.
Yeah, so there might be more tactics here than we, well, I guess now we realized, but...
Yeah, it's hard to say. It is, there's a lot going on in this game. The pilots have a lot to learn.
Yeah, and with the 3 different opponents, there's a whole lot of things going on.
So
oh, and we see them just sitting 2 points away here, right? How many points did they need for a victory?
Precisely 2 points.
Yeah. Now we'll see what they do here. We got the 3 other teams just hanging around the point. Moth building up speed as they come in.
Ball's groupie taking some focus. Looking close to hull break. They get hull broken. Galleon tries to run. He just hits the balloon that was rebuilt in a nick of time.
They might be remembering the golden days of that bridge ram. We will see that even from down there, they're actually contesting the point, so there's a pretty large zone to this one point, and that's going to be very hard to force some of these more mobile ships off of.
Although perhaps the red team will be looking, if they've noticed at least, they'll be looking to support the blue team in capturing. I am doubtful that that is their current strategy, but it's very possible that that's what they could be looking to do.
Yeah, I mean, the glory of winning is very tasty, and I think it's hard. We know most of these pilots, and it's hard to imagine that any one of them would be willing to give that taste up.
I agree. However, at the same time, this match is dragging on for a very long period.
It has been dragging on for a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's very entertaining, but I imagine it could be very stressful for the pilots. And at a point, you've got to say, look, am I going to risk not getting into the finals for a bit of pride?
Yeah, and purple team not getting the point, and that's very dangerous for the red team here.
Indeed. That will put them ahead of the red team if they can hold the point. So this is exactly the scenario red team doesn't want. If they captured it, or if the yellow team captured it, or if the blue team captured it, they'd be in a happy place. But
yeah, that just put purple team that little bit closer.
So I don't think this was red team strategy, because otherwise they just look to kill the squid and then they'd be in a very strong position.
Yeah, and now we're looking 245, 246. They're gonna go past red team here and score. And they passed them. Now, if they stay for just a little bit longer, they'll be safe even if red team gets a kill, but they choose to leave that point. Meaning that if red team... No, actually. It's still purple?
Yes, purple team are in second place. This is being contested by red and purple. So, control point.
Yeah, and it seems like Moth is going all in on trying to just get that one kill that they need.
So this is the third.
Oh, and it seems like purple just slipped out of the range of the point there.
Yes, it seems like he didn't know that you've got to be below a certain height for the specific point. But actually, once you're below, the region is quite generous. Puts red team in the lead, at least in second place. Sorry.
Yeah, but if they can hold this, they might just pass the blue team. There's a lot of points coming their way if they hold this until the end.
Indeed, that would be 130 more points. That would take them to victory. So if red team can hold this for the duration, they'll get that golden victory.
Yeah, but not all. But also, they can't allow the galleon to get a single kill.
Indeed, but I think they've got to leave that to the other ships. If they try and prevent the kill and hold the point, it could lead to bad scenarios for the Goldfish.
And now we see the Moth coming in here. They are hungry, and those are two quite low ships, and it's a very dangerous arc to be in front of this galleon.
Well, actually goes out, but misses on the stationary Goldfish.
Ooh, bump! And the balloon goes out on the Goldfish.
A fairly inconsequential bump, because the galleon was going to pop it anyway. If anything, it was good because it shuts the Goldfish down faster. That puts it out of the galleon now. And though I question the intentionality of such a thing. Squid is trying to shoot the fish.
Red team just narrowly holding on to this still.
And they rise off the point. They rise off the point. We see the other teams contesting.
Ooh.
In the favour of the red team.
Yeah, and there we go. They're back in. They're back in.
Yeah.
A very dangerous move by the red team. There we go, 396, 397.
Are they just gonna leave the point and like forgo their
Oh.
Is that
Oh,
what they're
no!
doing there?
But it still seems to be counting as long as no one caps it. There we go. Been
Well,
decapped.
This
Very
this
generous
is
area.
something extremely questionable. That was quite the error on the goldfish's behalf. And
Well, here we go. Over to point C. Now, both the red team and blue team being in the are left in the kill range. Oh, and they get the kill! There we go. Okay, so red team claiming the victory, with blue team narrowly behind them. Then purple team 272 points and yellow team with 112. And we see here the red team confirming that they were making plans of helping the galleon get a kill and settle for the second, because they are both, red team and blue team are both in the finals now, where we will be moving on to the Battle Royale-like mode, where the spawns will be turned off if you respawn, I think. Something like that. Alright, so, and it's time to check in and see if the other matches are finished. And they are. Gonna be interesting to see how they played out, if they took as long as ours did. I feel like that game mode could have gone a lot faster if the ships brought a lot more kill power.
potentially, although the fact that there are always going to be 3 other ships means even with 1 ship dead, it's going to take a while for you to kill the other ships, and by then the other ship, the original ship you killed will rejoin the fray, and it's pretty hard to bat ships off the point. Yeah.
But with more kill power across the board, I'm imagining a lot more ships would die a lot more chaotically, leaving just that one lucky person who doesn't know how they're alive. Or in the best case scenario, knowing exactly how they're alive because they planned it all out.
I have set up the lobby. Did you manage to get a screenshot?
Screenshots
of the ending?
No, but it will be available on VOD and on recording.
Okay. We'll have to fill the scores out later. That's fine.
Yeah.
The ranks are in.
There we go, and now we're in the last lobby here with the finalists. Looking to get their hands on the victory of the event here. And so... would you care to explain some more just what this mode entails? There's going to be a circle. It's going to be shrinking.
It is a circle, not a physical circle, but rather a imaginary one.
Yeah, I've got it up on screen right now so they can see.
Indeed. And so, essentially, what we'll be doing is areas outside of the current circle will be out of bounds. So, point A, which will display as it would in a Capture the Flag or King of the Hill mode, would be all of the map. So you can be anywhere on the map, and that will be for the first 5 minutes. Then the zone will change, and it will be ships will be restricted to the green circle, and that will be for another 5 minutes. After that time has passed, ships will be restricted to the yellow circle for 5 minutes, and after that time, ships will be restricted to the orange circle for 5 minutes, and so on until you get to the red circle, and then 5 minutes in the red circle. If there are still 2 ships left at the end of that time, the ships with the most kill will win, and if the ship kills are tied, then the ship that scored the first kill will win the game.
Yeah, so looking at the last circle, I mean, it's a pretty small map to begin with, but it's only a kilometer across, so there's not a whole lot of space in the last circle. Right, but the lobby timer is started. We've got 4 minutes left, 3:30 until the lock. We see immediate change. However, it's still a goldfish, but a watcher fish this time with 2 carronades and a flamer. I feel like we're risking a whole lot of action at the beginning of the game, so we're probably just going to go through the ships before the match starts, I think. So, in the finals here right now, we've got the Parhaceistes, been struggling with that all day. The red team. Mosine, Sage Tella, AZX, and 9 Iota. Been consistently strong through the matches we've seen them. Then we've got the Victor, that's not correct. It should be the Lonesome Pomelo, or the Pomelo. Sunstrom, Hadouche, Mr. Ghost, and Rare Form K. Rotskov. Sporting a Pyramidian right now. Seems to be an Artling with Flame of Flak. Quite solid ship, it feels like. Then we've got the Moth. They've been with us since the start as well. They've been with us since the second match, I believe. Solid ship. Held the point very well. Opting for the Galleon. We got Mervyn, Captain Cork, Huskar, and Lord of Spades on that. Sporting a Magnate right now. Watcher, Carronade, Gatling, Flamer, Flak, and a Javelin. Interesting choice, but that's probably explained by the Squid. Greasy Dream, which is also not correct. Should be the team name, but it is the Glowwater School of Fine Arts and Flamers, so that probably wouldn't fit. And of course on there we've got Mighty Keb, Frostbound, Ira, and TRJK. Wouldn't know how to pronounce that. But it's a very standard Keb Squid, I would say. Double Gatlings and a Banshee on that. 2 minutes left, 1:30 until lock. Haven't been a lot of changes actually. You just say the letters?
Yeah, you just said the letters.
Okay, like me then. So what do you think about this, Helfyre? There's a wide array of ships here. Goldfish, Pyramidian, Magnate, Squid. Some of them counter each other, some of them play well against each other. There's going to be an interesting dynamic in this match, I feel like.
What I'm really, I don't know if the word is amused, but intrigued to see is that these are really the keystone ships for all of these pilots. The ships that have become known for flying the most, at least in the recent era. And so these pilots are very confident with these ships. Obviously, they fly them in lots of scenarios, so they're good at staying alive with the ships, they're good at getting kills with the ships. And it will be interesting to see how the dynamic changes as the circle shrinks.
Yeah, and the crew, I think, of these people are really solid on these ships as well. I mean, what we've got in this lobby right now are powerhouses.
Yes.
That have flown together a lot with their crew.
They are the ships that have ranked the highest in the previous 2 matches, and they've come together now. Seems like they're already prepared. And off we go. For once, I don't have to even call the teams to ready it.
And so we've got Crazy King, or no, it's not Crazy King. It's a very... very different game mode here, but is using the Crazy King as a base here. But yeah, they all kept their kind of iconic ships here. We've got them all moving. Crazy King, I mean, Greasy Dream, or the Glow Waters here, immediately taking the center. Which is an interesting, but I think solid choice by them. And they're going a bit for the vision here. They're going for a bit of a scouting run. So is the Moth over here.
House Greasy Dream holds, maybe holds all the information here.
I was seeing some spots going out, and there's going to be a lot of interesting things happening in this match, since Perma is going to be an incredibly valuable resource. More than Greasy Dream in a bit of an engagement. And so maybe you don't want to be in the first engagement of the match, being the first to pick off or pick one off, since that could cost you some of your perma, and that's going to leave you weaker for other engagements. And so I think that's what we're seeing here, with the ships being incredibly careful, especially right now the Glow Waters. And I think they might be looking to sort of play the other ships against each other. But they are keeping a respectable distance. Now, the victor of the Pomelos for the first minute here, they've been playing the corner. They seem very wary of the other ships. And they don't have the same capabilities as some of the other ships here. We've seen the Squid going around and scouting a bit. Spots out again on the Moth. So we are getting those nice drums in the background. However, as we can see, there's not a lot of things happening here.
I noticed there's an interesting feature of this map. In the middle, there's a spotlight that seems to revolve around the globe.
It gives us a bit of a prison feel, doesn't it?
Yes. It looks like none of these teams want to give up an advantage, and realistically, in a free-for-all, you don't want to start a fight and get third and fourth party.
Yeah, that's the danger I was talking about as well. What if you kill someone off and it costs you half your perma? That's not going to be a good look. Now, the victor is still playing the corner. Now, of course, the start of the match is going to be just a bit slow.
The 25 minutes is seemingly a long time for this game mode.
Yeah, but as they're forced inwards, we're going to see more and more action, I believe. And I think there's going to be a lot of careful poking from the ships that can manage it, because, like we said, perma is a very scarce resource here. You get what you get. Yeah, now we got the control point B active here. Yeah, and so, as we've talked about with the point, you have to be really careful. You don't want to lose the point for too long. Because if there's only one of them in it, they're just going to grab that point and be the winner immediately.
You see the moth chasing the greasy dream, a bit of action. They've got a harpoon if they can connect it. Maybe force this engagement to carry on.
Yeah, and I would say that the Greasy Dream has been very provocative so far of the mod. They've been keeping at a distance and just watching them the entire game.
That's a side engine disabled, but the other two ships are not really in a position to locate this.
Yeah, we've seen the different playstyles here, but you see the Victor, they have basically not moved the entire match.
I find it interesting that they're positioned where they are, because in the Battle Royale, one of the things you look out for are sounds and visuals. And the Flamethrower and the other guns are making some sounds. I'm not sure if you can hear it from where the Victor is. Indeed, I can't. But the Victor's starting to move forwards now.
Ever so slightly, ever so slowly. And Red Team has been very wary as well. But maybe they can see some of the battle from where they're standing, and it would probably be a wise choice to try and play the other teams against each other before you go in.
Indeed, the red team is almost able to see the morph here. Indeed, they can't see the morph.
Greasy Dream with a bump. Luckily for them, they don't lose any perma from it.
It's very important that they play patiently here.
Yeah, and they're going to be able to see the red team here now, I think, from where they're coming in. There we go, the spot is out. And the Victor is spotted as well. And the way they've been playing, something tells me they didn't want to get spotted.
In fact, not by the squid. But I'm sure that...
Yeah, the Oddling can play very well 1v1, however, against several ships, I don't know how they fare. Didn't seem to go very well for the one in the first game we saw.
If the squid tries to annoy the Victor and the other ship comes behind it, the Victor is definitely going to be the one that's going to be focused, and it's going to die. However, we don't see this occurring at the moment. I don't think Greasy Dream wants to force the Victor into that position, because he also risks losing his own engine. Which would result
there's always the danger of
sacrificing
staying
himself.
under Artemis Arcs as one of the speedy ships. One lucky hit could doom you.
Yep, you just gotta hide them completely. You can't risk it at all, unless the reward is massive.
And with you only having one life, I mean, it's just too big of a risk, I think. Now, 1 minute and 15 seconds until the next shrink. And that shrink is going to leave us approximately with the inner 16 squares, I believe. Is that correct?
So, a slightly smaller section of the map. It will be contained within those 16 squares, but it will be a circle that has its radius being 2 squares long. So it will essentially cut out the diagonals of that 16 square region.
Okay, yeah. Alright, and
The
still
yellow
no
circle.
real action here.
Have the map as an overlay on your stream. Do you have the map as an overlay on the stream?
No, maybe I should add it, just a small one in the corner here.
Yeah, that would be helpful. So it would be the yellow circle.
I'm gonna add a small one of these down there in the corner. There we go. Now control point C is active, and that would be, yes, the yellow circle.
See the Victor really on the edge of the zone here. Really
Very careful play. Down there we've got them. Really not inviting any fighting. Moth and Greasy Dream. Maybe Greasy Dream here might be trying to lead the other ships to the Victor because they have fair knowledge about where they are. That would be an interesting move. And they need to be really careful against the Moth because if they get, especially on this map, if they get a lucky javelin, I mean that could just be the end of them. But I think that Keb and his crew are well aware of the risks of being in the arcs of that javelin.
Javelin harpoon gun is definitely something.
Now the fish see the other two ships here, and they might be getting ready for the Greasy Dream here. No, they wait. Are they waiting for the Moth? No.
The Greasy Dream is definitely making this an entertaining match to watch. And if you see the red team and the yellow team fight it out, that's something that might be something that both the teams won't be able to disengage from. It's just flying away from them all.
And still very careful play here. Still a bit away from the orange circle, but we are closing in on it. And that, I think, at that point it's going to be hard to avoid each other unless they're getting some kind of gentleman's agreement to ignore each other. Watch on the Greasy Dream. Engine down. And the Greasy Dream taking one of the sneaky side passages here. Oh, and just losing the spot and moving back again. It might have been... It might have seemed like they were going through. They did not.
Greasy Dream sitting on the edge of the boundary here.
Alright, so Greasy Dream really living on the edge of the zone there. Solid a watcher taking out two engines of the Greasy Dream.
Yes. Well, it looks like Kevin might be dead here anyway.
Yeah, they're in a very hard situation here. However, it seems like they managed to protect their engines, and the fish just broke their armor on a bridge. Now the Moth is seeing the opportunity, moving in for the Greasy Dream. They want them off and away before the finals here. And a bit of a double team going on here. Now, however, can the Moth keep this assumed ceasefire between the red ship and the yellow ship on the Greasy Dream right now? Now, the Victor seems to have smelled the fact that there's a battle going on, and they are moving in now, firing upon the Moth. Really breaking up the battle and really giving the Greasy Dream a chance to escape here. But I think also all teams are recognizing that the orange circle is coming up. And so almost all of that 16 block square is going to be gone, and it's only going to be the inner in 4 squares almost that are going to be available. Yeah. Victor really being on the edge of the map right now. Or on the circle.
He's on the edge. He seems to measure it really well.
And still staying out of the battle while the Greasy Dream and the Red Team and the Moth are battling it out right now. And Greasy Dream is really in a bad spot here.
But he does have all his engines at full health. Balloons almost at full health. It seems okay for now.
Yeah, we see those years of squid play that Keb has done really paying off. Now, Greasy Dream headed for the victor. Now, whether intentional or not remains to be asked. But they are on the edge here, and that limits what the Greasy Dream can do.
Yes, they just managed to remain within the boundary.
Oh, and the victor leaving the edge. Recognizing this, Greasy Dream is also really outside right now, and they need to move in. There we go. I think everyone's back in the circle again. And they're not letting go of the victor here, and they're getting some real damage on the hull. And now the Greasy Dream having a good hold on the victor. However, the Moth coming in here, and the Greasy Dream narrowly escaping. Fish might be looking at the victor here. They get a solid disable on the front guns. Now, the victor not looking good. Balloon down, one engine down, hull is burning down, but it seems like... No, Fish is going to keep their attention on the victor, it seems. But they need to be wary of the other 2 ships. And that's what just might give the victor the time it needs to recover here. Oh, bump. Greasy Dream needs to be careful now not to leave the point.
And it looks like they have just about left the point.
Now the victor, oh, getting broken. They really can't get out of the grip of this fish here.
Yes, the Greasy Dream should be disqualified here.
But they are going on. I mean, it's fair to assume that they might not have seen the message.
It is fair to assume that for now. However, this does put us in an interesting position. Because it does mean that the victor shouldn't have died to a disqualified Greasy Dream.
Yeah, understandable frustration from the crew of the victor.
And Dimitri, I will need you to continue the call out here.
Greasy Dream died off here.
Yes.
What kind of callouts do I need to do?
Just for the map checking.
Well, it's gonna be the last red circle, right? What's the radius of that one?
500 meters.
Well, there we go. Last circle is active. The ships should be aware of it, and we've got a bit of a 1v1 here. So I think it's going to be decided by who can beat the other one in this last engagement here. Now, pop on the fish. And so far, it's very even. So far, it's very hard to tell who's going to come out on top of this. Break on the fish. A lot of damage going out. We see now the fish may be ending up in a very good situation here. However, Moth turning the broadside here, getting a shot into the balloon. Watcher comes out. Not getting much more than a flamethrower, very unfortunate. Now the balloon of the fish is dead. Moth is moving in, needs to be careful not to hit the globe. The flames are coming out, making sure that the repairs will go slowly on the fish.
So the call is that we are to restart the game with the 3 ships that were not disqualified.
Oh, all right then. So we've got a bit of a we've got a call. Apologies to anyone who's a bit confused. Game mode not being fully implemented, of course, asks a lot of everyone involved, and I thank everyone for their patience. Alright, so we're headed back to the lobby here now. And it seems like we've decided that we're going to start from the 3rd circle, is that correct?
Yes.
The orange circle.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yes. And of course, this lobby is going to go a lot more faster because everyone already knows what ship they're going to take. Wild. Yeah, there's a lot of things happening. I still think personally, even though, you know, the game modes might not be fully implemented yet and it's not perfect, but I think it's a really fun idea so far. Here we go, we're back in the lobby. The blue team that got unjustly killed is coming back in. Play again. The Glow Waters, the purple team, unfortunately got disqualified for leaving the zone too much. And as such, we're having the victor come back in here. Sunstrom exclaiming, "You thought you had us, but we're back from the dead." Yeah, and the victor being on 1 out of 3 warnings for leaving the zone. And a whole lot of Spanish in chat today. Es solo un negocio. Vuelvo enseguida. I know volver means to return, doesn't it? Or does it mean to rotate? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Dementia, what's not working? We had a team being disqualified, killing off a team that wasn't disqualified. And hence we are restarting the lobby to make sure that everyone gets a fair chance at the victory. We will restart with 3 teams being active, the disqualified team not being in the match, of course. And we're going to start from the 3rd ring. The rings are going to be visible in the lower right corner when we start the match. And that's going to give you an idea of where we're at. It's roughly 720 meters in diameter, I believe. Or the radius, rather.
Yes. About 720 meters.
So that means there's only going to be about 500 or 5 minutes until we start with the last circle again being only about 500 meters in radius. So we're going to have a lot more action at the start.
Starting at the 3rd circle, that means that there are 10 minutes remaining in this match.
15, right? 25 from the start, we removed 3 rings. That should be 15.
If it's it depends on if it's point C or if it's point D. If it's point D, then it's Hold on, I'm a bit confused. Is it the yellow circle that we're doing, or is it the orange?
Alright, we've got people moving in immediately here. Orange circle. We've got 10 minutes on the match, not 20. Alright, so there we go. The match is off. Red team having the unfortunate spot of being in the middle of the 2 ships right now. Moth seems to be moving around and may end up in the middle themselves. Now, Moth taking some fire from the Victor here. The fish kind of staying out of it now, which might be a very wise choice.
They are also behind the magnates. If the magnate's victorious here, they can follow through. Blue team has to be careful here not to leave the point. And they are showing that care.
Now red team making their move, and it seems like Moth might have grabbed the upper hand on the Victor. However, now the fish coming in, and they seem hungry for the Moth. And the Moth is properly disabled here. No engines, only 2 guns left.
It looks like Victor's trying to reposition, probably just for safety. Moth is really...
Yeah, they need to be careful. They've got to watch up very close to their engines here. They managed to tank it with the front guns.
Yes, and the fish knows that they can't spend too long. Eventually the Moth will come back in.
Now the Victor claiming vertical superiority over the other 2 teams here, which is where the Artling thrives.
Yeah. So I do suspect that if we see a focus from the teams, it will probably be on the blue ship here.
Yeah, the Pyramidion very easy to kill when it gets disabled.
And
we've got a lot of watches. Yeah, definitely. You don't want a Pyramidion in your back because they can kill you so very quickly.
Yes. Especially with the Moth now sitting at less than 50% thermal.
Yeah, so they need to play this very carefully, trying to stay on the edges here. And the fish kinda is the one that has a choice here, aren't they? They can choose to go for the Victor and they can choose to go for the Moth. And they seem to go for the former. Making sure they have a good position if the Victor should try to move too far from their current spots.
I think really the question the fish has to ask here is, if I kill one of these, which one will be easier to kill after that's done? Will it be the Moth?
That's really the question, and I feel like an Ardling is a really poor matchup for a fish, isn't it?
Actually, a watcher fish has a decent time, yeah. It's not easy for it, but it can fight that. And the Magnate also isn't the easiest ship to fight, carrying a harpoon, carronades, flamethrower. So they're both difficult ships, but the key thing really, I think, is if the red teams noticed that the Moth is sitting at really low thermal, it will be pretty easy for it to finish off for the fish.
Yeah. They need like one hull break.
Yeah, because even if they get popped, as long as they get the hull break and get the explosives in, they're in a good place.
Now, only 1 minute left until the last circle will be active. However, I feel like most teams are sitting inside the last circle either way.
Given that all ships have all spots.
Yeah, so right now, very slow gameplay with all 3 ships being really careful here. We got ourselves a bit of a standoff here. And it seems like the Goldfish is almost hoping for these 2 to go in on each other, so it could maybe get a really good ambush on both of them at once here and just finish them both off. Because right now, nothing much happening at all. We've got some, what I'm assuming is like less smoke Gatling here going out. Not a lot of damage from either ship here. Now we see all of the ships here moving in a bit. Moth has been advancing on the Victor, but they're still keeping the globe in between them and the Goldfish. Now it seems like everyone is trying to get that one kill, because if you do get that one kill, you're safe for the victory if the timer expires. Now the victor needs to be careful not to get pushed off the point here by the moth as they're attempting to get behind them. And so they're proving that to be a very effective wall. Flamer going out on the moth. Flamer going out on the victor. They're kind of locked in battle here now. This might be the fish's time to shine here. They might just wait for the hull break and try and get the kill here. If they steal that, they're in a good place to win this. Now the moth sitting at very low perma. They've got no engines. They get the watcher on the fish. .230 left on the clock. Moth's armor is going down, and both the victor and the fish is trying to get into position. But there we go. Victor claims a kill. Now the goldfish needs to kill the victor within these 2 minutes and 20 seconds, or the victor is going to win. Now, hull break on the goldfish. Flag's being a bit too slow, but they're getting some of that Artemis perma in. Another hull break. Slowly shaving off that perma. Another hull break. They've got the fish firmly here now, and it's only a matter of time. There we go. The fish goes down. The victor is the only ship remaining. Which means they've claimed this Steel Colosseum. And as such, that's how prepared I am. We've got the Lonesome Pomelo winning this event, the Steel Colosseum, by claiming the 2 last kills of the Battle Royale. Really good display by all ships, and yeah, thank you to the Steel God for organizing all of this. Really fun. Thank you to the people playing and having patience with the rule set being, of course, completely new, and the game modes not being completely implemented yet. I think everyone displayed a nice gusto when it came to just taking things as they are and going into a complete new thing. Thank you to you, Helfyre, for being here with me today. Did a wonderful job reffing. And thank you for to the other streamers and casters. And the refs, of course. And Tico for organizing all of this. Really fun to be a part of. I think we saw some really good games, some strats that we usually don't see due to the unusual format. And thank you, of course, to everyone who watched. It was really fun. And I think if we fine-tune this, we do have a really nice game mode on our hands. I think the idea of a Battle Royale mode as it is a really nice idea, especially if it could be more fleshed out, maybe with a damaging gas, who knows. Could have a giant tar field closing in. So yeah, last of all, Phoenix03, thank you for the follow. Dolly, thank you so much for the 4 months. Thank you everyone for coming out and watching. I'm gonna sign off now. And yeah, have a good evening. Helfyre, any last words? then we'll just assume that he's busy with reffing stuff. But I think he also wants to wish everyone a good evening, and I'll say that for him as well. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yeah, there we go.
Actually, I just said that I really like this, that the community's come together, they've done this. I like that you've put together such a well thought out stream. And I hope that we see more events like this that stretch the thinking of players and that get them to use their skills in different scenarios where they have to solve different problems. It's been a really good and entertaining one for me to watch.
Yeah, I think the Guns of Icarus community still just continues to prove that, yeah, it's able to adapt and to have a lot of fun together. So there we go. I'm not going to keep on rambling. Good evening, people.